It's nice. Thank you. Okay. Well, we had a guest speaker lined up today, and she had to reschedule due to illness. So you're stuck with me. So I'm sorry about that. But that's why you have someone in the on deck circle. Back in April, they had the televised Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremony on HBO. And this year, finally, the E Street Band was inducted. Springsteen had been inducted years ago, but this year, the E Street Band finally made it. Of course, Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band, one of the few musical acts in the world that can still fill stadium venues like almost anywhere in the world. So Springsteen himself, of course, gave the induction speech for the band. And it was a great speech. He reminisced over their nearly 40 years together, going back to when they were just young men at Asbury Park, New Jersey, on the Jersey Shore, and talked a lot about what they went through. Of course, a couple of the original band members have now passed away. I was really struck by the way Springsteen closed his speech. And so I want to quote the boss here. We enjoyed health, and we've suffered illness and aging and death together. We took care of one another when trouble knocked. We hurt one another in big and small ways, but in the end we kept faith with each other. And one thing is certain. I told a story with the E Street Band that was and is bigger than anything I could tell on my own. And that is the hallmark of a rock and roll band. The narrative you tell is bigger than anything you could have told on your own. I thought that was a pretty eloquent description of the human condition itself. Something fundamental about us. The forces of natural selection have shaped our species so that when we come together in a group, the result is often something much greater than the sum of the parts. I'm only a very amateur student of evolution, but I am a fan. But no claim of expertise here. But one fact that does continue to fascinate me, and I ponder, is just and we've talked about this before, but we've been around like 200,000 years. Homo sapiens has, right? And we didn't start settling down into like cities and permanent settlements till 5,000 years ago, right? Jesus didn't come until 2,000 years ago. So like, what took him so long? Sorry, I couldn't resist. So, it's like, I don't know, should we do a timeline? Okay, it's like, here's 200,000 years, not to run to scale. And then, here's when we finally settled down into cities and the kind of the beginnings of civilization. So for this like huge chunk of time, that's where our brains developed. It shaped how we perceive the world. Okay, and during that huge bunch of time, we're living in tribal units of 100 to 150 people. That's how human beings lived. And it shapes everything about the way we interact with the way we see the world, the way we interact with other people, and our brains developed in small tribal groupings. We learned that there is strength in the tribe that conferred great survival advantages when you pull resources, talents, and personalities. And so we've always lived in the tribe. Hunter-gatherer. I guess this explains why some people like camping, which when you think about it makes no sense whatsoever, but it's like getting in touch with your tribal roots. So what Springsteen experienced with the E Street Band is just a microcosm of the whole human experience. And music is a great example of the power of the tribe, is it not? It's not just Neil Young. It's not just Springsteen. It's Neil Young and Crazy Horse, Gladys Knight and the Bibbs, Bob Marley and the Wailers, Buddy Holly and the Crickets. I'm missing anybody obvious? That's all I could come up with. But even when you think about the Beatles, the Beatles, with the possible exception of Lennon, but just like what they did together was like way better than what any one of them could do on their own. And so it's this tribal side of our nature even explains the kind of TV shows we like, right? We resonate with television shows that feature small, tight-knit groups of people. When you think about it, it goes all the way back through the history of television, back to Andy of Mayberry and the community of Mayberry, the Brady Bunch. Alice died a couple weeks ago, right? And I felt some sadness, and she wasn't even my housekeeper. She didn't know me from Adam, and yet I felt a little sense of loss when Alice died. Damn you, evolution, for messing with my brain. And then there was and it goes on, right? Walton's Mountain, Walton Seinfeld, Friends, Big Bang Theory, and then the quintessential show about a neighborhood gathering place, Cheers. And what was so special about Cheers? Cheers was a place where what? Everybody knows your name. Yeah. Oh, they're always glad you came. I forgot about that part. Okay. That's almost more important, isn't it? Sociologists speak about the concept of the third place. Have you guys, I can't even spell, okay, third place. Have you heard of the third place before? Okay, so the third place would be, third place would describe a place like Cheers. For most people, the first two places are the social environments of home and work. The third place is the place besides work and home where you connect with others in community. For many, the third place has been the VFW Hall, or the Masonic Lodge, or the bowling league, or the bar, like Cheers. In Little Havana, there's a park in Miami where every morning it's filled with old men smoking cigars, playing chess, and solving the world's problems. That's a third place. And so the sociologists argue that the third places are crucial for developing civil society, civil engagement, and even democracy. I was standing in line at HEB checkout a while back, and the magazines there, and I'm looking at the magazine titles, and I noticed they had a magazine dedicated to the art of tailgating. Okay, not a magazine about football, mind you, an entire magazine devoted to how you get ready for the football game. Tailgating has become so big that it's taken on a life of its own. Many people who go tailgating don't even go to the game, because the actual tailgate thing is the point of the whole deal. So the third place is not just good for our species on a social level, it's also good for us as individuals. Numerous studies have shown the importance of social interaction for better health, less stress, longer life expectancy, and these tangible physical benefits wired into us are, through neurotransmitters, whatever, nature's way of reinforcing the survival advantages of belonging to the tribe. And apparently, even singing together with other people is good for us. An artist from 30 Ways to Save Your Heart from Men's Health magazine. You can see what I'm concerned about at my age reading this kind of stuff, but anyway. Found out walnuts are good, if you want to know. But one of the 30 Ways to Save Your Heart was, researchers in Sweden have found that people who sing together have better heart rate variability, or the interval of time between beats. And the more variable your heart is, the better your odds of surviving a heart attack. Which suggests we should make Oasis karaoke night a semi-regular event, right? That was fun. I think you should. That was a lot of fun. Yeah. So for many of us, church, synagogue, mosque was the primary third place for much of our lives. And religion was onto something with the whole community thing. But religion also has a lot of baggage that gets in the way of developing genuine, strong, healthy community. And there are a lot of reasons for this, kind of depending upon the particular tradition or religion you came out of. And I can't speak so much to Islam and Judaism or others, but within Christianity, depending upon the tribe, it might go something like this: divorced? Sorry, no communion for you. Had a beer or a cigarette? Oops, you're now a backslider. Cohabitation outside marriage is still living in sin. Gay and lesbian? Love the sinner, hate the sin. Oh yeah, and that's not going to make abomination. It's not going to make you feel very welcome, is it? So obviously, I cannot do a talk on the glories of the tribe without also acknowledging the potential downside of the tribe. As vital as human tribes are to human well-being, tribes too quickly can turn against each other and wreak havoc in the world. The fear of the other has been ingrained in us by evolution, has it not? Not just the tendency to gather in the tribe, but the tendency to be suspicious of the other is part of the legacy of evolution. And it makes sense, because if you're in an ancestral environment and you spend your entire existence in a tribe of 100 to 150 people, the thinking is people rarely met people of another tribe, and if you did meet someone of another tribe, it probably wasn't a good thing, because it indicated that their tribe was encroaching on your territory, competing for scarce resources, food, turf battles, whatever. And so many humans have an inbred suspicion of the other. We need tribes to hate. Some more so than others, apparently. Now, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but why is it you see all these Aggie bumper stickers like demonizing the University of Texas, and we're going to cut off the horns of the Longhorn and all this kind of stuff. But then when you drive around Austin, and I get up to Austin frequently, you really don't see anti-Aggie bumper stickers all that much. Not making it, huh?
Because we're better.
Listen, you went to both places, so I don't know what's up with you. Okay. Yeah. We know your story. I went to the University of Michigan. Our arch football rival is Ohio State. Yeah. We have to do a little Big Ten tutorial around here. It's Ohio State. When I went to Michigan, a friend of mine from high school went to Ohio State. And we got together once over a break comparing our experience at school, and he gleefully went through all the anti-Michigan jokes they told and the anti-Michigan songs they sang in Columbus. And after he got finished, he says, "Now, what are you guys saying about us?" He wanted to hear it. And I was like, "Yeah, really, we don't think about you all that much." And honestly, there weren't like anti-Ohio State songs and jokes and stuff. And then, which made me feel kind of superior, and until I realized my sense of superiority showed more tribalism than my Ohio State Buckeye friend. So, now the tribalism of sports is fairly innocuous and maybe a necessary outlet for our tribal tendencies, but we see the dark side of tribalism in the news every day, don't we? Political extremists who demonize other human beings who have a different politics, gang violence, religious conflict all over the world, which just does not seem to go away. And now we're seeing tribalism on steroids with the Sunnis and the Shiites killing each other with abandon in Syria and Iraq right now, each convinced that they are doing the will of God. And frankly, I don't know, I'm no expert in foreign affairs, but that thing kind of scares me more than a lot of stuff that's happened in recent years. So what's the answer to the tribalism that continues to tear humanity apart? Some would say to get rid of the tribes. There was a prominent editor of a humanist magazine when there was an article about us back in December in this magazine, and he wrote in his editorial that groups like ours, he found them kind of infantile, that people had a need to get together and stuff. I was like, whatever. He said you couldn't be a true humanist if you belong to a group like this, and that's okay. I let loose on them someplace else, and in a book yet to be published, but I did let loose. And I don't think the answer, I think the tribal tendencies are too deeply ingrained in the DNA. We just can't wish this stuff away. I mean, do you ever stop through the day? I've been doing this more recently, occasionally catching myself and finding ways that evolution, roots of evolution in my, we can hear a twig snap, 50 yards behind us. We've been so attuned to survival in the camping world. And so like I was going out the gate the other day to the driveway, and there was a little gecko there right there on the gate near the handle. And I was like, well, hello, little gecko. You're my friend. You sell me insurance. You know, you speak with a Cockney accent. Yeah, I'm not afraid of you. But then I thought, man, if that gecko had not had any legs, had been a reptile with no legs, I would have screamed and ran the other direction like a little kid. See, and it happens like that, right? There are things, awful lot of things are so hardwired into us that we will never escape. So we are a tribal species. We're a social species that evolved in community and thrives in community. I don't think the answer to tribalism is no tribes. I think the answer is better tribes, more compassionate tribes, more humane tribes. Human beings have always needed third places. And as the third places of the past decline and disappear, we need good third places. The need for good third places still remains. And I think that's the opportunity we have here in our secular community. And I think we can take the concept of the third place to a new level. I mean, I think we can do community better than it's ever been done in the past. And also that's one reason why many of us here, and many of the leaders of this community are having conversations that it's time, in order to be a better third place, we need a place. Something that we're just not hanging out 2 hours with. We need a place where we can have all these meetings and activities and not that everything will happen there. We'll still have neighborhood potlucks and all that, but it's time, given the growth of the organization and what we're attempting to do, we need a spot where we can do it throughout the week. And we'll be able to offer more programming to the community, and also it would be a visible sign to Houston that non-believers are here to stay. We're here and we're growing, and we're here to make a contribution for great good in our city. We want to be an influence of good for good. So if anybody wants to join the search team for a facility, please see Ted Mengers. He's heading up the search portion of that. Okay, Ted's right there. Seriously, if you'd like to help, because we need a lot of eyes and ears on the ground looking for good spots. So if you'd like to help out with that, please do. And then later on, we're also going to, so we have two sub-teams, one forming with facility search and others working on the findings side of it. Eric is heading that up. He's out of town this weekend. He'll be talking more about that. But I think that, the possibilities of what we could do are just so great. Back when, I told this story to a couple of you at my potluck, so forgive me for repeating it, but I wanted to share it with everybody. Back when Hurricane Katrina hit, I remember all the evacuees came over from New Orleans, and the decision was made to house them at the Astrodome. And when that was happening, the city of Houston hastily called a meeting of clergy, because one of the things they were going to ask the religious community to do was to pitch in and help feed the people in the Astrodome, the thousands and thousands of people in the Astrodome. So I went to that meeting, and at that meeting, the lead pastor of a large evangelical church, I won't say the name, but its initials are Second Baptist, and he got up and said that his board had already decided that they would write a check on the spot for $1 million to help pay for the meals of the Katrina evacuees in the Astrodome. No strings attached, just $1 million. Do you think someday it might be possible for a secular community in Houston to do the same thing? Someday when another big humanitarian disaster strikes, the non-believers will be able to step up to the plate and say, sure, here's $1 million, no problem. I think it's not only possible, I think it's probable. And I think it's starting right here with us. And I think it might happen sooner than we think, because as Bruce Springsteen said at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction speech about his band, the narrative we tell together is going to be way, way bigger than anything any of us could ever do on our own. And that's just the way the human tribe works. I opened with Springsteen, we're going to close with Dylan. A few years ago, a poll of readers and critics of Rolling Stone magazine named Bob Dylan's Like a Rolling Stone the greatest rock song of all time. That may not be your opinion of the song, but I really don't care because now it's a fact. Okay? Now, if you remember the song, one of the amazing things about the song is the B3 or Hammond B3 organ in the background. And like so many other things in rock history, this was just kind of a random thing that happened. When Dylan recorded the song, guitarist Al Cooper, who was known for organizing Blood, Sweat, and Tears, showed up at the studio hoping to play for the session. But the superior guitarist, Michael Bloomfield, was also there that day, and so Al Cooper got booted to the production booth. He got sidelined. So Bloomfield could play. But Cooper was not willing to sit on the sidelines that day because he wanted to be part of history. So he snuck back into the recording booth and he sat at the empty organ bench. And when Dylan started to record the song, Cooper just sat there and started fiddling with chords on the Hammond B3 organ that he made up on the spot. And what's even more interesting is that Cooper did not know how to play the organ. He didn't know what was going to come out. He was just like listening and messing around with it. But he had no idea really what he was doing, except that it sounded good. So when the producer realized what was happening and realized that Cooper had gotten back into the recording booth, he got mad at Cooper, tried to evict him, and like mayhem broke out. But Dylan was open to spontaneity, and when he heard the mix of the organ and the guitar and the drum, he realized something special was happening, and he cut through all the confusion and chaos in the studio by shouting over everybody else, "Turn up the organ!" I don't know how Dylan, he was a turn up the organ. And history was made. That would not be a bad motto, another motto for us. Turn up the organ. Because everybody in the band has an instrument to play, right? It could be the washboard or the kazoo or a cowbell, yes. Yeah. But it doesn't matter, everyone here is making a difference simply by being here, whether you're volunteering with the children, whether you're working on the, planning the youth activities, whether you're donating blood or simply showing up on a regular basis. You're in the recording studio. You're helping to make history. And the narrative Oasis is going to tell is going to be way, way bigger than any of us could have ever told on our own. And that's all I got for you today. So, thank you. Any comments? I mean, there's so much more on the whole tribal thing. And yes, Lou.
I guess I'm wondering that if before we have our own building, there's a natural disaster in Houston, or a situation where refugees have come into town, we're going to divert funds to that might go towards the building.
Well, there aren't supposed to be any hurricanes this year, so you don't have to die. But that's something to think about. I wouldn't say, we may think about that, but we may think that we can do both and. Hopefully it won't be a choice of either or. Yeah. But I think it's important also for the long haul that, what we're, by establishing ourselves, and face again, we need, when we get up, coffee break is a mess. We're bumping into each other all the time during coffee break, and that's great, it's a wonderful thing. But this is summertime, and we have a lot of regulars out of town. Look around, it's time for more space. And that's going to allow us to launch, we want to become a community of influence. And this is another stage in that journey. So my question, I think it depends upon the situation, and we'll just have to look at it, but we want to be in tune with, along those lines, I'd like to see us, and I'm just thinking out loud, so don't get mad at me, anybody on the board, but I'd like, okay, I'm not going to say it. No, I was going to say, I'd like to see us at, start to maybe pick, like, I don't want to say the word charity, but a worthwhile humanitarian, like Oxfam or something like that, maybe once a quarter, that we take a portion of each week's proceeds to make a gift to Oxfam or something like that. There's so many worthy secular international and national relief groups. So I like to see us kind of get in that mindset of part of what we're doing is out there. Just a thought. We're not voting on it now, and we're not going to discuss it now. Okay, just think about it. Yeah, Jesse.
Mega churches seem to be a big thing in the South. It's always about attendance, and more and more people. I'm curious if you think if there's a certain number at which you start to lose that tribe, benefits of that tribe, and it becomes more of a...
Yeah. The way they do that is that they satisfy both needs. We have... I've mentioned this before. It's something worth knowing. It's a fascinating thing. This is a good one to look up if you haven't looked it up yet. Why can't I spell today? Okay, it's Dunbar. Your Dunbar number is it's a number. It has to do with the size. Every mammal has a Dunbar number. It has to do with the size of a particular region of your brain. Neuroscience people, you could help me out on that. That dictates the number of people that you can relate to, a number of people in your species that you can relate to. The human Dunbar number, the average human Dunbar number, is somewhere between 100 and 150. That's it. Like people's names that you can remember that you could, So people out there who have like 300, 400, or 500 friends on Facebook. I hate to break it to you, but there are not 300 people in this world that really care about you. Okay, it's a broken heart. Okay, so the way large organizations get large is by satisfying. So you become then a tribe of tribes. You have special interest groups within those tribes. It may be age, it may be all kinds of demographics. So. That's one way to do it. And the thing is that the advantage of that is, so you satisfy the tribal needs. Actually, get back to the tailgating thing. It's kind of brilliant the way it works. You have your tailgating experience with your tribe, right? People tend not to tailgate with like a bazillion people. It tends to be, from their tribe. But then you go to the stadium and have the stadium experience. There's something unique a unique energy that comes from being at a large sporting event, right? That's different than watching on television. There's the excitement of the crowd, the action, the immediacy of the event. There's something that can only be delivered in a large event. And there's also, the tribal experience can't satisfy our need for the stadium event. The stadium event cannot satisfy the need for our tribal cohesiveness. And so there's a way to balance both, which allows an organization to grow and still keep that kind of tribal feeling going. Susan and then Richard.
Just a comment. I never would have joined the humongous Methodist church that I did when I moved out to the west part of town. I never would have. It's too big. But I happened to get pulled through the back door to the choir. And I walked into the place for the first time ever with a choir robe on. I never even walked in. And it was coincidentally, about 150 people total probably.
Yeah.
And it made all the difference.
If you look up the Dunbar number, there is nothing coincidental. The people who do research on this will show the importance of like the 100 to 150. When you think of the Roman soldier, what was the Roman soldier called? A centurion. There's this number has played a role in human groupings all throughout history. Yeah, Richard.
Since you mentioned tailgating prominently, and there may be some in the audience who are less familiar with this little bit of Americana, can you describe what tailgating is?
Oh, sure. Tailgating is just going to the parking lot of the stadium hours, sometimes days ahead of time, depending on how long you need to smoke your brisket. And it's just a extended pregame party in the parking lot of this. And I guess you could tailgate elsewhere, but typically it's done with the tailgate of a truck but now it's just it's taken on a life of its own. So that's tailgating for those of you who may not know what tailgating is. Thank you. Good. We better... Yes.
Tailgating. There will be people who, instead of buying season passes to the game, will just buy season parking passes and literally just sit in the parking lot through the whole game having a party.
Yep.
That's tailgating. And watch the game on TV. They'll bring
Sure.
It's actually business now.
Fred.
Could we tailgate out here during this gathering?
What are you trying to say?
Why couldn't we? Why couldn't we have a tailgate party on Sunday when the weather's nice? We could do a tailgate breakfast. We could do a tailgate brunch. I don't know. It's an idea. I like it. I like the way you think. Okay, great. Thank you, everybody.